Hey everyone, this is Daria from MeshBodyAddicts.com, and today I'm doing a review of the new Genesis Labs Mesh Head Eva. Now, Eva has just come out. It is part of the 3.0 releases from Genesis Labs, those being the Bento releases. They do have a new body applier, and they do run on the Bento system, so something to be aware of when you're buying this one. But let's have a start by looking at the head itself. So in the folder, I've already put all of my HUDs in, so just ignore that. You get quite a few gesture triggered animations, as well as you get the head, the ears, the teeth, the eyes, and the HUD, all of which you need to add to get the full head. So let's have a quick look at the HUD. Now, the HUD itself is it's a little bit difficult to read, although that could just be me and my ever-advancing age. But the eyes, we have various eyes options here, which we can control using the HUD. The textures of the eyes are really quite good. For some reason, I'm really fond of this purple. We have eyelashes, both in brown and in black. Now, you will notice sometimes this grey mask appears. This seems to be either my connection is playing up or there's a little bit of a glitch with the HUD itself in showing these textures. To be honest, I couldn't tell you which one it was that's causing the issue, but why aren't you showing up? There we go, bit of a right click. So we have quite a few options here, all of which are really, really nice. I quite like them all. Now we have ears. The ears are a separate attachment, so they are tinted via the HUD. You'll also get if you buy a Genesis Labs skin texture, I'm using the Eva skin texture. It doesn't come with a texture. So when you first get the mesh head, it will be completely blank. You'll need to buy a skin texture for the head. It's not Omega compatible, unfortunately, but Genesis Labs do have a selection of skins available at the store at the moment, and I've also heard that it may be compatible with 2.0 skins as well, although I haven't tried that. Now the head has some really interesting features that I really quite like. So we'll have a quick look at the HUD first before I go off on my tangent. But the front of the HUD, we can see we control the ears, the teeth, the tongue, beauty marks, hair base, and eyes. Into makeup, we have eyeshadows of various types and colours that we can apply to the head here. We can also, of course, clear that layer. Now you will notice sometimes my head does flicker white and grey. Again, I don't know if that's just my internet being a pain today, or if that is just a little bit of a laggy glitch with the Genesis Labs system. But if it does take too long, one trick, now it's not going to do it, just you wait. Yeah, it's not. See, look at it go. If it does get stuck, I just go to edit on the face, and that usually refreshes it quite fast. We have eyeliners, all of which are a little bit too stark for my personal taste. I like a bit more of a smudgy eyeliner, but there are lots of options from very dark to more subtle, which is a good thing. I really love the next section, which is blush and contour. So what we're doing here is just adding definition to the face by form of various shading to give a bit more of a cheekbone look. We can make that as dark as we'd like, and right down to having a totally sunburnt look, which I think is really funny, especially given it's Christmas in Australia right now. Got some eye bags and various other looks. So I really do like some of the features that come with this. Comes with a range of lipstick as well, so you know how they work, so I won't go too much into that. And we come to the animations. So of course the head is bento, which means that it is rigged to a whole bunch of different bones within the face. Now that in itself means that we can use sliders to customize our look, which I'll show you soon. But it also means that we get some really awesome animations. So we have everything from a little bit of a what the kind of look to smiles, to wide open looks, kissy faces. Now, one thing I am noticing with the head, she has a tendency to look up at an angle after any animation. I'm not sure if they've left the eyes rigged up to look up into that corner, and so every time the animation cycles, it's going back to that up angle. But I've noticed it with all of the animations that it does that, which is just a bit strange. But the animations themselves are really, really nice and really cute. We have static poses as well, so if you want to just have a static open mouth, bit of a tongue, and a few different things like that, you can. I'll just leave the mouth showing for the moment, and you can also static the eyes. One trick, because it doesn't give any sort of indication which animation I'm on, that animation will continue to cycle until you select a static pose. So if you find that you just keep pulling the same expression, just do lips closed and eyes center, and that should fix it. They've set up some neck options, which is really, really good, and there is a neck fix, which is here in the folder as well, which is just great. Now, this is the really exciting stuff. They've included some things that other designers up until now haven't done. So, if I can see my head, that's actually not the head itself, by the way, that's this hair. It just digs in a little bit in the back there, so just ignore that. Now, show me more of your teeth. Oh, it's not going to play. Okay. So they've included a few different features within the HUD itself that a few of the other mesh designers have sort of dabbled with but haven't up until now included as part of the base mesh head. And with that, we have braces. We have vampire teeth, which we've seen with Cat Was Annie before. I really do love these braces. I'll just shove it right inside my head so we can see braces. And there's a tongue piercing, which is really, really cool. So they've actually put a tongue piercing in, which I think is just so awesome. And it even has the underside, which is really, really good. That's really the first time we've seen anything like that, and that's because that is rigged to the tongue. It means that it moves with each different expression, which I think is just awesome. So that's a bit of a rundown there of the HUD itself. Let me just put her back in a more staticky expression, and let's have a look at the sliders. So the sliders, if you've not used a bento head before, they're pretty much exactly as they were with the traditional SL body. Some will be more impacted than others. Some heads will be rigged to move a lot with sliders. Some will be rigged to move with less. And the whole reason behind this is that any bone or any a point within the mesh skeleton can only have 4 influences on it. So every vert that is within this head, and if you imagine this head is sort of a grid, it can only have 4 influences, and that does limit it a little bit. But we have a lot of options about how we can change the head. So this is my sort of edit of the default head it came with, but let me just change it. And there we go, that's the one it came with. So the first thing you're probably going to want to do is change the shape. It is quite a very tiny silhouette, very thin silhouette with a giant head. So you'll want to probably just take a photo of what your body sliders are at and what your torso and leg sliders are at with the shape you have now. That way, what you'll be able to do is just copy them into any future shape that you make. So let's have a quick look. For example, we'll go with the head. So obviously we can stretch the head. We can change the shape of the head as well. And I might just take the hair off so that we can see that a bit better. So we can use that forehead heavy and that chin heavy look to try and achieve a balance. I might just undo my changes there because my head, I'm flickering a bit. Flat head, long head. Oh, it really doesn't like the fact that I changed my shape. SL loves to do that if you change a shape while you're in edit, by the way. So, forehead angle, that will move your brows, but also be careful to make sure that you look at it profile as well. Because sometimes I've noticed that I'll move something to look good front on, and then I'll look sideways and I look like an alien. So just be aware of that. Ooh. Okay. Now, cheeks is one that you probably want to play with. In this head, it really is just sticking out a bit. There's not a whole lot of change I would make there, but then again, I'm far from an expert shape maker. You'll want to play around with these to ascertain what look you want. Ooh, yeah, that's me and my expert shape making. Eyes, so we can make eyes giant or eyes tiny. You'll notice, as with all mesh, we're getting a bit of stick through there with the eyeballs themselves. So always just keep tabs on what you're doing to make sure it's not causing any major conflicts. Usually, as long as you're not at 100% of any slider, you should be okay. So eye spacing, we can adjust that as well. So eye corner. Now, one thing that I noticed for myself is that with a few of the mesh heads, I couldn't get the eyebrows right. They looked so low and so strange, and I could not for the life of me work out why. And the reason came back to the eyebrow shaper, believe it or not. I'd completely forgotten that these even played a role in anything, but they do. And they become very important when using bento heads because they change the entire shape of the way it looks. So you can see there, it's not working. But if I use, say, one of my Glamour Fair ones, then it gets a little bit better. And you may even want to make your own eyebrow shaper just to make it look the way you want, rather than messing around too much with sliders to change eyebrows. So that's just a quick tip from me to you. In your library, within your inventory, you'll notice you'll have a lot of eyebrow shapers. So if I go right down to, I don't know, Girl Next Door, that seems to be a standard one, and put that on, then that gives me a different look and da-da-da-da-da. So you can play around with those as well. At the moment, I'm using this standard one because that just seems to work best for me. So back to appearance. Oh, that's right. I've done the wonderful thing of going into my clothing. I always forget I'm in appearance. It's terrible. So you'll notice with a lot of heads, shape is everything, especially with bento. And sometimes you can put a mesh head on and it looks so awful. And if you wear one shape with one bento head, then wear it with another, you may notice there's some squishing going on and all sorts. So always start with the shape that the body comes with, because that will be its default starting shape. And you can work from there to adjust things, tweak things, move things, and create a completely different look if that's what you want to do. So sliders overall with the Genesis Labs head are quite good. The default lip shape was a bit too much for me, so I like to sort of slim down the lips a little bit, just bring them in a little bit, make them look a little bit more natural. I did notice with this head in particular, if you try to create too much of a more upper lip look, you can get some poke out of teeth and this slightly parted lip look, which is just part of sliders and the way it's rigged. So just if you do get stuck with a bit of a weird look there, just play around with the sliders until you get that perfect sort of balance, which with this head seems to be around the 53 to 57 mark. Everything else should be pretty standard to play with. If you try to create too much of an exaggerated look, again, you're going to get that problem with your mouth as well. So there will be little tips and tricks to each one, that you do need to be aware of. But overall, the head itself is really good. I really wish it was Omega compatible, but that's just because of ease of use, especially for me. I collect a lot of skins, and I like to be able to wear them on different heads as well, which unfortunately you can't do. You're sort of in the Genesis Labs system. That said, they have collaborated with a lot of designers to make sure a lot of skins are available at release. Which is really good because it means you're not just sort of starting from scratch by yourself as well. So that's my review of the Genesis Labs mesh head. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've tried it or if you've bought it and you use it in the comments, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think of it. Thanks everyone. Bye.